apparently, Junie did this whole thing on his phone, so it's in vertical. Thankfully, though, we do have subs. Let's make these bigger. Is everybody ready? Is this everybody's first time? We went through Junie's letter last night, which was pretty awesome. I really enjoyed that. So I'm super excited to dig into this. Wait, what am I waiting for? Cheers, everybody. Happy Festa. Gombe. Oh, it's good. It's not good, but it's going to do the job. It's going to make my lips tingly. Cheers. All right, let's do it. Sound check.
이 정도 하면 되나?
Is he leaving? Oh, you know what I'm going to do? Oh, I can't because of the subs. Never mind. Damn. He just left? Okay. He went to get a drink? He couldn't do that before he started? What about the rest of us? Actually, that's exactly what I do. You just can't see me because I hide it. Well, I guess we'll have to drink for him. Happy Festa. The old couch stream. Yo, do you think this is a message? Is this BU for high couch? There he is.
안녕하세요. 너무 위다. 안녕하세요, 여러분.
There he is.
근데 채팅.
Now, I'm going to warn you now because we're going to have some new people. We're going to have people that don't come around a lot. The reason I'm doing this live stream, okay, if you want to watch this uninterrupted and just at Junie for 49 minutes, that's perfectly fine. Now is not the time for that. You can do that, but I am going to be pausing this and talking about some of the things that he's talking about. He's processing life in the military, probably his transition out of the military. It's going to be my job to interpret and kind of translate from a military perspective, which is what my background is. Okay?
이 밑으로 하면 채팅창 이따가 채팅을 읽을 때는 들고 하겠습니다. 안녕하세요. 이제 조금 킬만한 상태가 돼서
He looks good.
라이브를 켰습니다. 그러니까 운동을 좀 해가지고 다시 붓기가 빠져서 원래 이 모습을 보여드렸어야 되는데 어제 아침에 너무 부어가지고
Swollen from crying?
송구했습니다. 네. 안녕하세요. 이제 이 라이브를 키는 상상을 한 진짜 뻥 안 치고 한 5,000번 이상 한 것 같은데 군대에서 킨다 안 킨다 이렇게.
Yeah, wow.
이제 그냥 그동안 있었던 얘기들 뭐 간략하게 들려드리고 또 전부 여러분이랑 또 떠드는 거 좋아하니까. Is the subtitle okay? I don't know, like, you know, like how really good is the live translation? You know, the live subtitle. Is it okay? Thank you for welcoming me back. What's up, guys? What's up? It's poppin'.
He's still
Now
got
I look
it.
like me. Shit. This morning I was like this. I think I slept only like 3 hours and had no time to run. I want to shoot the photo again right now. So I took the heaven stairs, what I call the stairs, the machine, for like 20 minutes, and now I look okay. So I missed you too. Now I'm home. Guys, look. Sweet home, sweet home. 엄청 어색하죠. 엄청 어색하고 이제 돌아가야 될 것 같아 아직도.
Yep.
그래서 여러분들이랑 얘기 좀 하고 하려고. 배터리가 별로 없어서 이거 하다 끊기겠는데.
He didn't charge his battery. He didn't go pee first.
점심 굶은 지 한 3주 됐는데 점심 굶고 집에 가서 그 어머니랑 아버지랑 들기름 막국수 먹었어요. 전국이 메뉴. Is the live translation okay? Can I talk in Korean? Cause I wanna be comfy.
Bro, you do you.
So if I speak in English, there must be some, like misunderstandings and. 오카에리. 오카에리가 맞나? 아씨 다 까먹었어. 일본어 스고쿠 와사이짜다 됐어. 스가사이. So I'm here to just tell things about the past 2 years, almost like 19 months. So 아무튼 시작을 해볼게요. 얘기를. 일단 좋은 날이니까 이제 toast. I want to have a toast. So if you got some beer or any glassware things, any drinks.
Oh, he's got that $30 bottle.
Have a toast with me. Have a little toast with me. I say cheese, mate.
Cheese,
건배.
mate.
네.
Yeah, bro, get it.
집에서 술 먹는 게 되게 오랜만이에요. 집에서 거의 먹은 적이 없어서 저 위스키 창고들이 다 썩어가고 있어요. 그래서 이제 군대 얘기부터 해볼까요? 일단 firstly, like thank you for waiting for us for 18 months. It's a fucking long time.
That's my boy.
어디부터 시작하지? Okay, so once again, I'm gonna speak in Korean to deliver my feelings truthfully. So 그래서 이제 23년에 RPWP를 만들 때 이제 많은 사건들이 있었는데 그 thanks to에도 제가 썼지만 개인 사적으로 많은 일들이 있었어요. 제 개인적으로 좀 안 좋은 일이 되게 많이 있었었고 그런 것들을 겪으면서 RPWP라는 앨범을 만들었고 RPWP에 대한 얘기도 우리가 좀 할 거지만 일단은 지금 막 전역을 했으니까 군대 얘기부터 해볼게요. 논산에 이제 태연이랑 같이 갔잖아요. 그때 잊을 수가 없는데 12월 11일에 그 전날에 뭐 했더라? 아마 전날에 절에 갔을 거예요. 절에 갔어요. 강화도에 있는 절에 가서 108배를 하고 막 차에서 소리 지르고 그 다음에 정신없이 들어갔는데 비가 엄청 많이 왔죠. 그래서 아직도 그 판초 우위라고 이제 rain suit what do you call it? 뭐라 하는지 모르겠지만 아무튼 판초 우위를 입고 이제 태영이랑 같이 들어갔죠. 저는 이제 27년대에 10중대에 있었고 태영이는 9중대에 있었습니다. 옆중대였어요. 같은 건물을 썼어요. 음악을 틀고 좀 하면 좋겠는데 제가 핸드폰이 하나밖에 없어서 좀 음악을 틀지 못하는 그런 상황. 아무튼 들어가서 저 진짜 훈련소 때 잘했어요. 그래서 조교하라는 권유를 진짜 많이 받았고 중대장님, 대대장, 연대장 해서 막 조교 논산에서 꼭 조교를 했으면 좋겠다. 나이도 많고 이제 잘 친구들을 아무래도 사회에서 리더도 했고 좀 잘 통솔할 것 같으니까 조교를 하라는 권유를 많이 받았는데 논산 훈련소가 엄청 FM이에요. 그러니까 되게 빡센 곳이죠. 육군 훈련소니까. 그래서 너무 힘들 것 같은데 이렇게 여기서 1년 반 살면 조교들이 이제 저를 통솔했던 조교들이 너무 고생하는 걸 보면서 많이 힘들 것 같다.
Hold on. Thought it'd be really hard, but if I lived here for a year and a half,
를 통솔했던 조교들이
it would be really hard to see the assistant instructors who had trained me struggling. Okay.
너무 고생하는 걸 보면서 아 많이 힘들 것 같다. 그래서 이제 그거를 만류하고 이제 소위 이제 뺑뺑이를 돌려서 화천에 가게 된 건데 이 화천에 가게 된 게 참 재밌는 게 이제 뭐 인이랑 업이라는 게 있잖아요. 카르마라는 게 있잖아요. 카르마. 근데 그 RPWP 다큐의 메인 그 썸네일로 나오는 그 헤븐 듣고 있는 제가 풀밭에 누워 있는 장면들 그거 화천이에요. 이제 화천에 비수금이라는 곳이 있는데 거기에 이제 놀러 갔다가 진짜 그냥 뭐 작업하러 간 게 아니고 워크숍 하러 갔다가 아이씨 너무 조금 따라가지고 엄청 그 뭐라고 해야 돼 그냥 놀러 갔는데 제가 이제 화천에 처음 가봤어요. 저는 화천에 대해서 제가 아는 거라고 산천 축제밖에 없었고 그때 이제 간 게 2023년 5월이었는데 제가 2024년 1월에 8개월 뒤에 이제 화천에 가게 됩니다. 부대 분류를 화천으로 받아서. 그래서 아 이게 참 이게 무섭구나. 이게 말이랑 이게 그런 게 무섭구나라는 생각이 되게 많이 들었고 그 다음에 이제 또 그 제 어릴 적에 이제 음악 같이 열심히 했던 이제 또
As a
그
child.
장모라는 친구가 있는데 장모라는 친구를 아주 오랜만에 만났어요. 저 입대하기 한 달 전에 그때 이제 사람들 다 만나고 인사할 때라서 장모라는 친구를 한 6년 만에 만났는데 그 친구는 전역한 지 그때 2달 됐거든요. 그래서 뭐 근데 어디 갔다 왔냐 하니까 자기는 화천에 있었다. 진짜 멀다. 그래서 거기만 안 가면 된다. 아, 난 설마 거기 가겠냐? 난 논산이다. 근데 제가 거기 가게 된 거죠. 그래서 저는 창모가 쓰던 관물대를 제가 1년을 썼어요. 그 창모가 쓰고
Oh,
간 이제 방명록이
wow.
있는데 그 방명록을 이제 내내 1년 5개월 동안 보면서 살았고 어제 이제 제가 그 옆에다가 제 방명록을 적고 나왔습니다. 아무튼 이렇게 해서 화천이라는 동네를 연을 맺게 됐어요.
So let me just make sure I'm following this because Junie's brain is kind of beautiful minding right now, and mine is not. So I'm gonna see if I'm keeping up here. So essentially, what he's saying, he's telling a military story where he had a friend that he knew since being a child, and he goes into the military, and then he ends up. I'm assuming he says water pipe, like a water fountain or something like that. And there's a guest book that's there. Is this the temple that he was talking about? That his friend signed the guest book was there a year and a half before he was. So it's almost like he's kind of like following in those footsteps. But there's somebody else nearby, and he ends up linking up with him at some point. Is that right? Really far north and near the front lines and really, really harsh. Korean rapper. Okay. Who it sounds like is either ahead of him or just was at this place ahead of him. Okay. I'm going to do my best to find spots between his thoughts as best I can. Yeah, the subs are a little confusing too, but I'm going to do my best to make sense of them as we go.
그래서 이제 군악대
Oh, he was at the same base as Changmo, and he saw the entry and then called him. Got it. Thank you. And Changmo said, don't go there. Okay. But it was too late. Yep.
면접을 보고 군악대에 갔고 뭐 전 군악대에서 잘 몰랐으니까 근데 창모한테 많이 물어봤죠. 근데 이제 저희는 구막사라고 그 예전 막사 거의 컨테이너에 지어진 그러니까 막 옛날에 푸른 거탑 같은 드라마 혹시 보시면 나오는 그런 드라마 그러니까 한 10평 남짓 관물대 빼면은 한 7, 8평 될까요? 관물대가 24개가 이렇게 따다다다다다 이렇게 양쪽으로 마주본 평상인데 21명이 있어요. 제가 처음 갔을 때. 저 동기들이 되게 많았는데 3개월 동기여서 이제 제 동기가 7명이 있었고 2명은 4월 9일 저녁 4명은 5월 19일 저녁 1명은 6월 3일 저녁 제가 마지막 8동기 중에 마지막 전역자였습니다. 아무튼 갔는데 막 들어가요. 사령부로 막 좋죠. 사령부니까 연병장도 막 잔디고 천연 잔디고 너무 좋은데 무슨 군수품 창고 같은 곳에 내려주시는 거예요. 저를 여기 창고인가 보다. 창고부터 소개시켜 주시네. 안 좋은 데부터 소개해 주시네 했는데 여기가 너네 생활관이다 하는데 이제 충격적이었죠. 엄청. 아직도 이런 데가 있었다니. 그래서 저는 그 막 드라마 신병 같은 거 보면 나오시는 그 층으로 된 건물 있죠. 계단 있고 우리 옛날에 학교 다니던 것 같은 그런 걸 한 번도 못 써봤고 이렇게 나란히 그 컨테이너 가벽처럼 이루어진 건물을 에서 살았어요. 그래서 쉽지 않았죠, 솔직히. 이제 거의 안 남아 있거든요. 그리고 이제 보통 최전방이면 시설이 굉장히 좋다고 알려져 있는데 뭐 어떤 사연인지 모르겠지만 어쨌든
So it sounds like he's describing some of the buildings and areas that he came in contact with, the military buildings, the military areas, as surprising him that these were the facilities that were being used. Is that correct? As far as like old or dilapidated. Yeah, containers, basically. We call them Connex boxes. Shipping containers usually sometimes get reworked if you're lucky to be, rooms in a way. Okay.
이제 저희 15사단 군악대 그 본부 군무대는 이제 그렇게 한 두 채, 세 채로 이루어진 컨테이너 스타일 건물에서 그렇게 지냈습니다. 그렇게 지내고 이제 색소폰을 거기서 처음 배웠죠. 처음 배웠고 뭐 저희가 이제 오선지 악보 보는 그런 가수들이 아니잖아요. 근데 이제 오선지 악보 보면서
The names of
개 이름
dogs.
쓰면서 외우고 뭐 색소폰이라는 걸 그래 왔으니까 이제 악기를 한번 배워보자 해서 처음에 알토 색소폰을 받았다가 알토 색소폰이 저한테 입이 너무 작더라고요. 그래서 테너 색소폰으로 바꾸고 테너 색소폰을 사서 이제 저기다 애정을 붙이고 그 이제 테너 색소폰을 배우기 시작한 거고.
So let me get this straight. He picked up the saxophone while he was in the military and then started learning. Is that correct? I feel like that's correct. I'm just asking for confirmation. Yes. It wouldn't surprise me if after a year, maybe two, if that saxophone playing goes away. Wouldn't surprise me. Here's why I say that. Junie being Junie needs something to keep that brain focused in a positive direction. Not because he's in danger or anything, but because he needs something to focus on. He needs something to put his energy into. Now, of course, it's music, and the saxophone is music, but it's also something new that he has to, he's making new brain patterns, right? New neural pathways learning this instrument as a way, like a distraction / release / distraction, again, from the external world of the military that he's really not digging, okay? It was perfect to distract him from everything else. However, now that he's out, I can't say finishes, but when he goes through his transition from military into civilian world, which absolutely is a transition, it takes time, it takes energy, right? That saxophone is going to become a captive memory holder on a whole bunch of things that he doesn't really like the feeling of. That's my guess. It might stick as like a sentimental piece, but I'll be surprised if in 2 years if he's still playing. And if he is great, it means he enjoyed it and he wanted to keep doing it. That's great. But it wouldn't surprise me. It totally makes sense to me.
이제 오늘 제가 이제 그 코난을 한 거는 뭐 당연히 웃기려고 한 게 맞고요. 그리고 지금 각박한 세상이지 않습니까, 요즘? 세상이 각박하잖아요. 좀 웃음도 많이 없고 그래서 좀 실없이 웃고 싶다. 그리고 내 저녁이나 이런 거를 뭔가 이렇게 무게 있게 막 가기보다는 그러니까 저도 이제 두 개의 자아가 있잖아요. 물론 이제 사람들이 저를 보는 뭐 유엔 연설을 하고 모시기를 하고 뭐 의젓한 무슨 건실한 뭐 그런 자아가 있지만서도 그냥 실없이 사람들을 웃기고 싶은 그런 이제 자아가 이제 항상 공존한단 말이죠. 그래서 웃기려고 한 거예요, 웃기려고. 그래서 웃으셨으면 다행이고. 이제 코난을 한 이유가 뭐냐. 이제 여러분이 알만한 노래가 제가 연습한 적이 별로 없어서 코난을 한 거고요. 코난을 이제 작년 9월에 저희 그 사단 행사에서 제가 한번 했었는데 그때 외웠다가 그거 기억을 해놨다가 또 끄니까 이 에어컨 끄면 덥고 키면 추운. 인정? 인정.
I'm starting to feel like. Now, hold on. Let me just ask this question first. I'm going to talk about the saxophone as a blanket. Remind me if I forget, because who knows. With Conan, first of all, I don't remember seeing him on Conan. I don't know if he's talking about in the military or before the military. For some reason, it's just not registering in my brain. Did he take the saxophone on Conan? I'm wondering how he got from saxophone to Conan. Oh, it's a song called Conan. Well, no wonder I don't remember it. Okay. So is it Conan? Like the barbarian? It's from an anime. Okay, that makes sense. Huh. That made way more sense than what I was thinking. Got it. Thank you very much. So what I was going to say was, I'm starting to wonder, and now the fact that he didn't go on Conan the show kind of destroys this theory. But if you think about when Jin first got out, wait, where did he play the sax? Was it Jin or Hobie? I feel like it was Hobie. When Hobie was discharged, was it Jin? Junie came out and had the saxophone, right? That was the first time that I remember we saw Junie in the public eye in the military. If that's correct, and then the first time we saw him when he was discharged, he had the saxophone and he played it. He got down on his knee. V is waiting for him like, here's your flowers, bro. Time to get up. I'm starting to wonder if that saxophone was kind of like a safety blanket for June when he just kind of needed a bit of a barrier, like a social barrier that was still kind of protective from himself and the media and the public. You know what I mean? Because then the attention goes to the saxophone instead of him. He doesn't have to say anything. He just can play the saxophone. Just a theory, but I feel like that kind of makes sense, especially when someone like him is going to be overthinking and thinking twice about every single thing that he's doing. And he's already talked about the two egos, which we all have. Like, we do. Whatever you say, we do. And in the public eye, especially with like the strictness around the culture of idols, you don't really have that opportunity to like be yourself a lot, if you know what I mean. So it kind of makes sense that he needed some kind of easing back into the public eye in a very safe way. And that's kind of the perfect way to do it. Yeah. And honestly, that's even like a facade in and of itself. That's a whole mask. That's a persona. Because then even if he messes up the saxophone song, people can say, oh, that saxophone playing is a little off. What's going on, Junie? They're still digging on the saxophone and not him directly. It's pretty smart. I don't think it's intentional. I don't think it's deliberate. I just think it's subconscious and I mean, it's Junie. He knows what he's doing. I just don't think it's deliberate.
뭐 그렇습니다. 그래서 웃기려고 한 거고요. 웃으셨다면 다행이고 즐거우셨으면 다행이고 뭔가 저녁을 좀 이렇게 좀 신나는 일이니까 그렇게 하고 싶었어요. 그래서 I think many those of you are not getting it because this is like all the military words and vocabulary. So maybe after this live, then you could enjoy the translation. Maybe thanks to some people's efforts. So 미리 감사하다는 말씀 드리고요. 이거 어떻게 번역하실지 쉽지 않으실 것 같은데 어쨌든 군대 얘기를 하고 싶어서 근데 군대 얘기를 제가 영어로 하기가 참 어렵고 괜히 또 실수가 있으면 안 되니까.
Yeah, bro, get it.
그래서 그렇게 이제 태양 색소폰 열심히 하고 저희는 이제 비전투 부대여서 막 태양이처럼 막 무슨 막 이런 부대는 아니에요. 그래서 사격을 제가 논산에서 그래도 곧잘 해서 최정예 훈련병을 먼저 땄는데 그
So he's saying he was not in a tactical unit, I believe is what he's saying. At first, I couldn't meet the standard for shooting, so I worked really hard.
이제 태영이가 처음에 사격을 그 기준을 못 미쳐서 되게 열심히 하다가 지금은 아마 태영이가 저보다 훨씬 사격을 잘할 거고 저는 작년에
And I'm assuming this
한 두 번, 세
translation
번
is a little off because they keep saying Taeyang and it should be Tae V, right? Okay, good. I'm getting confused, man. Got it. So talking about V. V is a better shooter than Junie. Okay.
태영이가 저보다 훨씬 사격을 잘할 거고 저는 작년에 사격을 한 두 번, 세 번 해봤습니다. 사격 재밌는데 총을 쏘면 여기가 너무 아프거든요. 광대가 막 여기 탁탁 걸려요. 그러면 광대가 이렇게 부어요. 그래서 사격을 되게 하고 싶었는데 하면 광대가 너무 아프니까 하고 싶지 않았던 그런 기억이 있고 어쨌든 그렇게 뭐 다 아시다시피 이제 색소폰을 재밌게 불었습니다.
Junie, you need some help shooting, bro? You call Roscoe. I got you, homie. I get you. I got you. I'm going to teach you all that cool shit. Oh, yeah. You and me, bro. We go outside. I got my Glock. I got my AR, bro. I'll take you on a ride. I'll have you transition, reload, phase 2. Go. Oh, yeah. I got you, bro. And I won't make it weird.
불었고
Tasia, cut that out. I don't feel good about that. Don't leave that in.
아 이거 뭐 얼만큼 얘기할 수 있을까 이제 말을 조심해야 되니까
I have to be careful with what I
뭐
say.
용사들 그러니까 같이 지낸 선우님들이 뭐 보셔서 아시겠지만 인생 내 것을 얘는 왜 이렇게 많이 찍어서 올려지 이런 생각 분명히 하실 거예요. 저도 이제 인정하는데 뭐 그냥 뭐 이제 제가 올릴 수 있는 게 별로 없잖아요. 제가 군인인데 라이브를 킬 수도 없고 뭐 뭘 할 수도
True.
없으니까 그냥 할 수 있었던 게 음악 추천 뭐 가끔 리버스에서 글쓰기 그 다음에 예, 뭐 인생 내 거 찍어서 저 잘 살고 있다, 잘 지내고 있다 그런 거. 그래서 저희는 항상 전역자가 생기거나 혹은 신병이 들어오면 같이 화천에 이제 포토존이 딱 두 개 있거든요. 화천에 롯데리아밖에 없고 그 사창리라고 있는데 그 포토 인생 내 컷 그런 게 딱 두 개 있어요. 부스가 심지어 지금 하나 고장 났더라고요. 아무튼 그곳에서 항상 이렇게 사진을 찍는 게 저희가 할 게 많이 없어서 그게 항상 루틴이었습니다. 그래서
So he's saying he also found some solace in the very strict, the 2 photo zones that were there because he was in this area, which is very close to the front line and kind of like on lockdown. So there's 2 photo zones that you can use. And it sounds like he found some solace in taking a lot of pictures because there wasn't really much to do.
어제 이제 마지막 뭐 거두절미하고 어제 이제 마지막 날에 그래도 제가 군 생활을 뭐 친구들한테는 잘 했구나라고 생각을 한 게 편지를 엄청 많이 써서 주더라고요. 지금 남아있는
Yep.
친구들이 제가 이제 제가 빠졌으니까 이제 현재원이라고 하는데 현재 있는 현재원이 한 14명? 14명인데 한 11명, 12명 친구들이 막 편지 써주고 이렇게 해줘서 어제 한 2시까지 얘기를 길게 했어요. 같이 그냥 사는
Nice.
얘기, 그동안 있었던 얘기, 앞으로의 얘기. 그래서 뭐 걔네들도 제가 신기했겠죠. 거기서 이제 그러고 있으니까.
That is one of the things that military people will tell you is one of our life forces it's stories. Now, that shouldn't surprise you because you've been hanging out with me for 3.5 years now. But stories of the past help us connect. Stories of the present make us laugh, usually. Stories of the future give us hope. So sometimes you meet somebody that you knew 20 years ago. You went through something with, you went through boot camp with, you went through some kind of special training with, and you tell the same stories over and over again, stories of the past. That is a bonding mechanism. That's how we reconnect and we share that experience. And then when we talk about what's happening now, it's usually because, again, it's still bonding, but it's a lot more at ease, fun. This is what's happening. It's goofy. You're roasting each other. It's good. But then stories of the future give us hope. So what ends up happening is when you're in these areas where you are not enjoying yourself or you're having a really bad couple of years, you tell stories about what you think the future is going to look like or what you are going to make it look like. You tell your story, and then the guy next to you tells his story, and then you go around the circle. And then before you know it, you end up with connecting with somebody across the circle that says, "Hey, man, I heard what you said. Like I'm there, bro. That's you spoke to me." And then the connections get stronger. But it's really, and you know, some of you might think because maybe you're not super exposed to the military life, military culture, and you never have been. But it's not as, I mean, it depends on the context because nothing is exclusive, but as a massive generalization, the military is not as locked down and serious and that you think it is. It is when it needs to be. It is as a job, but when that job is not being done in the moment, and I specify in the moment by seconds, we find ways to entertain each other and uplift each other and share with each other. That's what makes us keep going. You know that the guy behind you and the guy beside you is fighting for you just like you're fighting for them. And it doesn't always have to be combat related. It's literally just you're going through these very hard things that are hard for people to do. So, you know, you find ways to entertain each other. And even when you're covered in dirt and miserable and giant spiders crawling all over you and it's been raining for 6 weeks and you're freezing and you think you got hypothermia, you think, oh, this might be the last 3 days that I'm alive, man, this is rough. You still find ways to cheer each other up and keep on trucking. So it's him talking about stories and sharing this stuff. It's, again, it's like we talked about with the letter. Whatever comes to the top, these wave tops that he's bringing out, these are significant. And that's why I'm trying to like make sense of it. He at the surface, it might seem like he's just talking about stories. No, when he talks about stories, it is a significant cultural thing within military culture of how we connect and how we give each other hope.
그러니까 얘가 어쩌다 여길 와서 또 이러고 있나, 어쩌다 여길 봤나 해서 되게 저희를 오래전부터 좋아했던, 한 10년 전부터 좋아했던 이제 일산 출신의 이제 진짜 저희 찐팬이 한 명 있었는데, 실용음악을 하는 친구인데, 현우라고 있는데 그 친구가 진짜 저희를 좋아하더라고요. 그래서 되게 재밌는 경험을 많이 하고, 그 다음에 저도 이제 영어를 항상 배우고 연습을 많이 했었는데 군대 가면 이제 영어를 쓸 일 없으니까 까먹으니까. 그래서 근데 이제 군악대는 선발된 친구들 중에 뭐 되게 학벌이 좋은 친구들이 많아서 뭐 미국에서 뭐 카네기 멜론 다니던 친구도 있었고 버클리 다니던 친구도 있었고 또 싱가포르에 또 좋은 대학 다니던 친구도 있어서 그 친구들이랑 계속 영어 안 먹으려고 몇 번씩 쓰고.
I forgot this was a thing. Oh man, you're gonna think this is so dumb. You're like, why are you getting excited about this? I forgot this was a thing. He says, so there's all these people, diverse backgrounds, Berkeley, Singapore, Carnegie. So I wrote with them several times to avoid having to watch movies. Now, I don't know if June generally avoids movies, but what I read this as was having to watch the same movies over and over again. Because generally, well, back in my day, we didn't have this streaming bullshit where you can just pull up any movie you want and you have access to all of Hollywood around the world. No, you had the same 5 DVDs that you could fit into your rucksack when you traveled. So you're watching, hey, which one are we watching? We're watching You've Got Mail Again. Nice. And every dude in that room knows every line of those 5 movies. So when he said, I just wrote with them so I could avoid watching movies, it's probably because he's sick of the damn things. But truth be told, that's not the case. But that was absolutely part of my upbringing. Yeah, you bring all 8 Harry Potters. Yeah.
친구도 있어서 그 친구들이랑 계속 영어 안 먹으려고 몇 번씩 쓰고, 또 일본에서 대학을 다니다 오던 선임도 있어서 그 친구랑 뭐 일본어로 대화도 해보고 뭐 그렇게 지냈어요. 그래서 일병 상병 때까지는 정말 책을 정말 많이 읽었고, 근데 이제 병장 때부터 책이 안 들어오더라고요. 그래서 제가 이제 300일 때부터 300일이
Wait,
남아있을 때부터.
What? Does he mean 300 days in. He stopped reading books when he was a corporal. I have a diary that I wrote from when I was 300 days old. I'm assuming that means he's been in the military for 300 days.
쓰는 일기가 있는데
Bye! Mid-sentence. Do you kind of wish that when he steps away, he just forgets for a moment? Maybe his foot slips and you hear a little... Me neither.
이게 이제 제가 쓰던
Oh, is he
일기인데
gonna read it?
보면 이게 This is 상병, this is 병장. 그래서 이제
Yo, I should show you my diary from the military. This shit is obnoxious. I'm not even kidding. You think this...
짝대기 하나, 짝대기 두 개, 삼각형 그 다음에 이제 네모예요.
Yeah, I said diary.
그래서 뭐 이게
Has a
욕이,
lot of
욕설이
swear words.
많아가지고 좀 내용을 보여드리기는 그렇고 이렇게 299일 남았을 때
See, I talked about this in the letter. I told you a lot of people that are in the military that have trouble in the military count down the days. Count down the days. He just said when I was 300 days old. And right now he's talking about, but I wrote from the 299th day. He knows the days as they go. Yup, this is what it looks like. Man.
부터 광복절부터 썼습니다. 근데 이제 이게 맨 처음에 자대 왔을 때 쓴 일기인데 이제 24년 2월 19일 이병 김남준 뭐 역시 나이가 다가 아니다 매일 배운다 뭐 늘 길은 있으니까 긍정적인 낙천적인 마음 잃지 말자 이렇게 썼네요. 그래서
There's always a
일기를
way.
진짜 많이 썼어요. 이렇게 진짜 많이
Wow.
썼어요. 일기를 참 많이 썼고 일기 쓰면서 버텼던 것 같아요.
Yep.
그래서 어제까지도 일기를 쓰다 나왔고 그래서 어제 사실은 제가 진짜 뭐 억울은 아니지 그 내가 그렇게 한 거니까 그래서 어제 그 더운데 4시에 5km씩 뛰고 이제 오늘 되게 사진 잘 나오려고 저도 점심을 늘 안 먹거든요. 한 달 됐나? 점심을 안 먹어요. 그래서 아까도 방금 가족들을 뵙고 이제 들기름 막국수
See, he's starting to talk a little bit about the transition into civilian life, kind of. But he's also kind of highlighting the fact that, like, it's hard enough for somebody to go from civilian life into military life and then eventually back to civilian life. That has its own struggles. But to go from civilian / idle life into military life, whole different battle. Then to go from military back to civilian / idle life, bunch of different struggles, right? So not only does he have to transition out of the military and back into non-military life, but then there's another very heavy layer on top of that, which is what idle life looks like. You know, you like when I got out of the military, I couldn't wait, but I didn't have to worry anymore about being able to run 8 miles at a shot at friggin' 6-minute miles. I didn't have to worry about carrying 80 friggin' pounds for 20 miles. So I got to relax a little bit. He doesn't get that. He's got to get out, figure out what this transition is going to look like, all the while having to like get right back up into idle status. That's a lot. Yeah, straight back into it. It's a different kind of restriction in a way. It's tough. I mean, he'll do it. They'll get through it. They'll be fine, but it's still tough.
근데 점심 다 굶고 제가 이제 83kg, 84kg까지 갔었어요. 작년 9월, 8월? 이제 맨날 왜 살이 그렇게 찌냐? PX라는 게 있어요. 편의점 같은 거.
Yeah, the
냉동
PX.
있고 라면 이런 게 있는데 라면이 또 보급이 나옵니다.
Yeah.
그러면은 그럼 맨날 애들이 점심 끝나면 먹는 거예요, 라면을. 그러면은 냄새가 그 조그마한 생활관이니까
The
진동을
smell
하죠. 여기는
vibrates.
라면 까고 있어, 저기는 냉동 까고 있어, 저기 과자 까. 이러니까 그래서 이제 아 너네 이거 왜 먹어? 이러면 막 아, 뭐 김남준 상병님 한 입 드십니까? 이러면 이제 한 입만 줘봐. 그 한 입 하다가 이제 83kg가 됐습니다. 그래서 한참 정말 많이
I take one bite and I'm gaining weight. I just take one bite. It's like that line from Big Daddy when he says, when I was young, I could eat anything I wanted and not gain an ounce. Now I think about a milkshake and my ass jiggles for like a week. Bro, welcome to being a grown-up.
제 인생 최고 제가 80kg를 넘은 건 인생 처음이거든요. 제가 데뷔할 때가 참고로 64kg였습니다. 키가 똑같죠. 그리고 데뷔할 때 64kg였고 그 저기 입대하기 전에 마음고생해서 살 빠졌을 때 69kg. 훈련
The PX is like a military convenience store. It's an exchange. It's like a 7-Eleven, but it's on a base. It's on a military base. So that it's literally like a 7-Eleven. It's the easiest thing to say. So I mean, and depending on which service you're in, like the Marines call it a PX, the Navy calls it a PX. I think the Army calls it a BX. I don't know, like base exchange. Yeah, so like PX I think is port exchange or something like that. But that's pretty much it.
에서도 68kg까지 빠졌어요. 68kg였고 83kg까지 갔다가 작년 10월에 지금 73kg? 근데 오늘 사진이 이제 83kg 때처럼 나온 거예요. 그래서 근데 제가 이제 어제 2시까지 얘기하다가 야 얘들아 이제 자자 나 내일 6시 일어나야 되니까 잤는데 잠이 안 와. 그래서 누워있다가 근데 갑자기 잘 얘기하고 끝났는데 막 눈물이 막
Here we
그
go.
반물대 안에다가 제가 막 써놓은 게 있거든요. D286 끝이 나긴 할까 뭐 이런 거 막 써놨어요.
Will it end? Jeez.
그걸 딱 보는데 눈물이 너무 나서 애들 자는데 이제 저 혼자 이제 좀 오랜만에 울었습니다. 네, 울어서 딱 그러고 6시 45분쯤 이제 누가 이제 저기 얼마 전에 들어온 신병 친구 2명이 있는데 형 일어나셔야 돼요. 그래서 몇 시야? 6시 45분입니다. 그래 하고 이제 일어나서 얼굴을 딱 봤는데 진짜 큰일 난 거예요.
That's rough.
그래서 막 세수하고 지압 슬리퍼 입고 지압 슬리퍼 신고 막 근데 이제 역시 태영이는 진짜 다른 게 세계미남 1위는 다른 게 세계미남 1위인데도 불구하고 다시 일어나서 패딩을 입고 자기는 떴다 해서 근데 전 잠을 4시에 들었거든요. 그래서 좀 기사 사진에서 좋지 못한 모습을 보여드린 점 죄송합니다. 하지만 여러분들이 웃었으면 또 다행이고요. 저는 이제 실질적으로 또 일을 할 때 그렇게 좀 싹 해가지고 저 이제 피부과도 다녀요. 저 피부과 안 다녔거든요. 한 번도 안 다녔는데 이제 나이가 들고 이제 거기서 막 작업하고 이러면서 타고 막 여드름도 나고 이러니까
No, you don't.
피부과도 지금은 다행히 좋은데 제모도 하고 피부과도 다녀서
These cats look like they got dermatologists living on their faces. So jealous.
5월부터 이제 말년 때부터 처음 다니기 시작했습니다. 그래서 피부과도 다니니까 잘 관리해서 좋은 모습 보여드리겠습니다. 누가 되지 않게. 예. 이제 나왔으니까 한잔 해. 응.
Hey! All right. Okay, we'll join you.
저 굉장히 조금씩 먹고 있습니다. 참고로. 음주를 권장하는 게 아니고요. 좋은 날이니까 그냥 좀 편하게 좀 얘기하고 이렇게 하고 싶었습니다. 아무튼 뭐 그랬어요. 그랬고 그래서 이제 라이브를 켜고 좀 여러 가지 말씀을 드리는 거를 계속 생각을 해왔던 것 같아요. 그래서 그렇게 저녁을 했고 솔직히 전 진짜 안 올 줄 알았어요. 사실 지금도 약간 좀 떨려요. 약간 라이브
No
키는 것도
surprise.
되게 긴장되고 아까도 긴장했고 엄청 카메라 200대 있는데 이제 얼굴은 부었지 눈은 팅팅이지 그러니까 진짜 서기 싫다. 근데 어떻게 인사는 해야지 또 재밌게 해야지. 그래서 그런 마음이었고 뭐 솔직히 이랬던 것 같아요. 훈련소에서는
You know what I think is interesting here is that he's discussing military life and he's discussing what is now becoming once again idol life, right? With the cameras and being back on the live stream saying things. But you think about it, the monster that he and others like him that walk this journey, the monster that they are dealing with is the same monster, and that is expectations. You have expectations as an idol where you're in the public eye, you have to say the right things, you can't make mistakes, you can't mess up, you can't do this, you have to do this. Expectations. You have to fit within the expectations of the public and the industry and everything else. The military, even if you're not in the public eye, it's the same monster. It's a monster of expectations. You are expected to wake up at 0 dark 30. You are expected to run this many miles at this pace. You are expected to carry this much weight and always be able to do this, and that, or else, basically. So even though the monster is the same, how we are able to navigate that monster and how to tame that monster varies greatly. Man, I never really put that together till just now. It really is about expectations. I mean, it feels like an obvious thing, but I don't really know, you know? We've talked about these guys and what idol life looks like and other groups and artists, and I really think that's it. Like, that's what most of us struggle with is expectations. I mean, I don't have kids like some of you or grandkids or whatever, but I have to assume that the expectation or the expectations around being a good parent has to be crushing. It has to be so friggin' overwhelming at times, and you never quite feel like you're doing it right. Or if you do make a mistake, you just beat the hell out of yourself for the next however many years. If it ever stops at all, you know? Yeah, you always feel like everybody else is judging you. And I have to assume, like, I know that's what the military feels like. I know what that feels like, you know, just socially being around people. But I do feel like if there was one thing that most of us struggle with, it's expectations. And I do think that encapsulates a lot that we have not always been good about articulating, right? Because we throw these things up like, well, I have anxiety, I have depression, I have this, and then the bucket gets thrown out of all these buzzwords of what each of us are struggling with. But the reality is that I think an absolute majority of that is a symptom of expectations and whether or not we think we can deal with reaching them or not reaching them. Whew. This is what I was hoping for. June spitting some stuff and making us think. Love this.
막 그쪽 여기 저희 간부들이 막 태영이를 잘 챙겨줘라. 왜냐면 태영이가 되게 독특하고 사랑스러운 친구니까 또 자기만의 또 이렇게 세계관이 딱 있잖아요. 근데 저는 약간 막 예민하고 눈치도 많이 보고 이래서 빠릿빠릿하고 이러니까 우리 둘 다 소대장 훈련병이었지만은 태영이를 좀 이렇게 좀 너가 잘 챙겨줘라, 너가 형이니까 이런 말들을 간부님들한테 되게 많이 들었던 것 같은데 자대 가고 나서 한 1병 지났을까부터는 태영이가 훨씬 더 생활을 잘했던 것 같아요. 왜냐면 태영이가 있던 2군단이 저희의 이제 뭐라고 해야 될까요? 모 부대인 거죠. 그러니까 2군단 예하에 15사단이 있거든요. 그래서 뭐 오며 가며 이제 얘기를 많이 들었는데.
So right now he's talking about the difference between the unit that he was in versus the unit that V was in. And how the unit that V was in was what he's saying is a better unit. And he hasn't said why, though. I just want to like build the foundation first. And I think he's kind of implying that V had an easier time through his journey than he did. I don't know yet. I'm just guessing.
태영이가 저보다는 훨씬 어떻게 보면 되게 힘든 부대에서 저보다 훨씬 생활을 잘 한 것 같아요. 그래서 되게 부럽고 멋있다고 생각했어요. 왜냐면 전 제가 제일 잘할 줄 알았거든요. 저는 변화에도 빠릿빠릿하고 잘 적응하고 그런 줄 알았는데 전 솔직히 좀 군 생활이 많이.
Before the military, he thought of himself Junie thought of himself as quick to adapt, very flexible, adaptive, but military life was difficult.
버거웠어요. 왜 버거웠냐면은 물론 뭐 당연히 이제 군대에서 1년 반을 보내야 된다는 사실 자체가 버거운 거는 뭐 다들 같을 거고. 뭐, 저는, 그리고 이제 친구들 다 좋고, 물론 뭐 시설이 안 좋은 것도 있긴 하지만, 제가 사실 많이 힘들었던 부분은 사실 잠인데,
So the facilities kind of sucked, which they're military, that kind of makes sense. It kind of comes with the territory. And then he had a hard time sleeping. No surprise there.
제가 사실 잠 때문에 이렇게 힘들었던 적이 처음인데, 뭐, 저희가 이제 저희 회사에 작년에 뭐 여러 가지 일이 많았잖아요. 그래서 한 4월, 5월쯤 RPWP 나오기 전에 제가 이제 불면에 걸려가지고, 근데 불면에 걸리니까 이게 그 20명이 같이 자잖아요. 옆에서 바로 옆에서. 그러니까 막 코
Yeah.
골고 막 이 갈고 막 뭐 베개를 더 하고 막 발로 차고 막 하는데 그게 이제 한 번 좀 이제 그런 제가 좀 되게 한 이틀 밤 한 78시간 정도 아예 1분도 잠을 못 잤던 적이 있었어요. 4월 말쯤.
So with these barracks or these sleeping arrangements, depending on what your barracks slash container slash tent slash outside looks like, you're going to be around a bunch of people. It could be one person. It could be up to like 80 people. Like in the American military, when I went through Paris Island, I had 88 people in my platoon. So there was one room with 88 people in bunks. So when it was time to sleep, you had 88 mofos making noise all friggin' night. If you've ever seen the movie Full Metal Jacket, the first half of that movie takes place in Paris Island, South Carolina. That is the Marine Corps recruit depot where I went through. So when you see a barracks in that movie, that's pretty much exactly what my experience looked like.
네. 그 여러 가지 이제 밖에 여러 가지 일이 많으니까 그래서 그때 이제 이렇게 살면 죽겠다. 왜냐면 거기서 일과를 해야 되는데 제가 지금 잠을 아예 못 자니까. 왜냐면 누워 있다가 아마 겪어본 분들은 아실 텐데 누워 있다가 졸린데
Hey, if you would remind me, I don't know if it's a good idea or not, but whatever. I like making bad decisions. There's even a song about it. BTS, look at that. After we get done with this, I actually do want to show you a quick shot of my military diary, if you will. But there's something in there that I want to share with you that's kind of similar to what Junie is expressing in my own way. So remind me at the end to get that. And maybe if I can find it real quick, I'll share it with you.
못 들어. 계속 생각이 이제 꼬리를 무는 피곤하긴 한데 그래서 너 1시 반, 2시 반, 3시 반, 4시 반, 5시 반, 6시 반 일어나야 돼. 이런 게 몇 번 반복돼서 이제 못 살겠더라고요. 사람이 잠을 안 자고 살 수가 없으니까. 그래서 그때 이제 뭐 이제 수면제 같은 도움을 받기 시작해서 약을 먹다가 근데 이제 좀 부작용도 있고 아무래도 또 오전에 반감기가 기니까 이제 제대로 생활이 안 되는 거죠. 좀비처럼. 그래서 약을
So he's trying to take sleeping pills because he can't sleep. He's got insomnia. His brain is going 1,000 friggin' miles an hour. So he finally reaches out for help. He gets some medication. And then because of the half-life, he's not even really sleeping, but he's a friggin' zombie through the day.
이제 여러 군데 이제 신경정신과도 처음 가봤는데 신경정신과 다니면서 휴가 때 다니면서 약을 좀 잘 맞는 약을 찾아서 바꾸고 사실 아직도 그 약을 못 끊었습니다. 그래서 그때 먹기 시작해서 한 1년 2개월 됐는데 뭐 많이 좋아지고 있는 것 같아요. 그래도 일단
Now here's a little side point, but an important point that he's mentioned. He's kind of proving. If you have ever considered therapy in some way, whether that's with a psychologist or a psychiatrist, most of the time, the first person you go to and do therapy probably not going to be the person that you're supposed to be with. It's like clothes. You kind of have to try a few out until you find the right fit, and then it changes everything. And Junie just kind of said that. Like, I went through this, I got medication, didn't really work. It kind of made things worse. But then eventually I found somebody, a psychiatrist, that got me a medication. It was perfect, and now it changed everything. And that is a really good example of what you can expect if you do see a counselor in some way. Yeah.
문제가 제가 군인이라는 신분이 저를 좀 심리적으로 계속 압박하니까
Yep.
그래서 지금도 사실은 약간 매일 밤이 좀 두렵거든요. 잠을 자야 된다라는 사실이 좀 두렵고 또 누워서 이제 가만히 3시간, 4시간 있는 게 되게 지옥이에요. 그래서 지금도 사실은 되게 밤이 두렵기도 하고 되게 솔직히 휴가 나와서 그냥 술을 엄청 먹고 그냥
Now, I don't know if this is what he's saying, but this is how I'm interpreting it. He's talking about being scared of the night. Laying still for 3 or 4 hours, you're afraid of the night. The reasons that we tend to feel that way, and I say we, I'm talking, again, not exclusively, but generally, as military people, is because everything happens at night. Everything. One, you always have to be ready for anything, even in a dead sleep. Like, you got to know where your boots are, your socks are, if you're not already sleeping in them, which you shouldn't be. You got to know where your gun is. You got to be able to literally, you hear the noise and you're up, loaded and ready to go. It has to, like, you have to. Now, he wasn't in a tactical unit, but that still doesn't mean that every single night he's getting woken up by something. And it can be as simple as what we called fire watch. Fire watch is where, again, you can even see this in Full Metal Jacket, right? In the military, fire watch is somebody that's always on duty to watch the group. It's basically a security element. And what that looks like is if you got 10 people camping, okay? If lights out is at 10 p.m., somebody's got to stay awake from 10 to 11 and just keep an eye on camp. Make sure the fire doesn't get out of control. Make sure bears don't sneak into the camp. Make sure nobody comes snooping and pooping and stealing your stuff. And then at 11 p.m., that person wakes up the next person and says, hey, you got 10 minutes. And then you got fire watch. That person gets up, cleans up a little bit, 10 minutes. Now they're on watch from 11 to 12. The other person goes to sleep, right? So that's kind of what fire watch is. And you take turns. So what ends up happening is, yeah, you sleep, but at some point somebody shakes you and you're up. You don't know what the hell's going on. Hey, you got fire watch in 10 minutes. You're like, it's 2 a.m. Come on. And it ruins everything about your cycle. Yep. That's just part of it. This is a whole bunch of reasons. But even from a tactical standpoint, not that I think we would have known if this was the case, but it can even go as far as like, most of the bad things happen at night because darkness is your friend. If you're going to go assault something or attack something, darkness is your friend. So bad things happen at night. Again, I don't think that's his case, but from a military perspective, that's what tends to happen.
기절하고 이런 적이 되게 많았어요. 근데 이제 그 다니는 병원 원장님께서 아마 군대에 있어서 그럴 거다. 나오면은 또 괜찮을 테니까 해서 이제 좀 생활 패턴도 다시 잡고 이제 조금씩 약을 줄여서 끊어.
So weaning off of the medication.
아무튼 사실 제 이 일기의 반은 잠 얘기예요. 잠을 너무 못 자니까 3시 반, 4시 반 수면 검사도 다시 받고 양압기도 다시 쓰는데 아마 또 한번 또 불면증을 겪어보신 분들은 이해하실 거라고 생각합니다. 그래서 그렇게 지냈어요. 한 1년 2개월을. 그래서 근데 거기 계신 분들이 친구들도 그렇고 선후임들도 다 제가 힘들어하는 걸 아니까 되게 배려도 많이 해주고 그랬죠. 그렇게 지내고 그래서 이제 그것 때문에 하루하루가 너무 빡세니까 제가 심신이 망가지는 느낌이 많이 들어서 살도 많이 찌고 막 스트레스 받으니까 폭식하고 막 이랬었어요. 그래서 근데 이제 그래도 4, 5월쯤에 이제 어쨌든 군 기간이 끝나가면서 여러 가지로 좀 많이 안정되고 하면서 다시 돌아오려고 하면서 좀 마음이 편해지니까 그래도 좀
See,
예전
this is good. He's expressing that he's seeing progress and in the fact that he's trying to, he says, stabilize. When he was in the military and he was having like, it was a rough day every friggin' day. So he started kind of binge eating as a way to feel some comfort, which is all something that I started doing when I was in the military. Like I ate like a child, like still do. Well, where do you think it started? I mean, I grew up family cooked meals. We sat around the table. We covered the day. I had a healthy upbringing for the most part. And I got in the military. I wanted to binge eat just to feel something. Why the hell do you think I got caught eating donuts in a dumpster? Aside from the fact that they were delicious. Yeah, so he's talking about stabilizing after all of that. And I hope for his sake that he continues to go in that direction, because even me, 25 years later, out of the Marine Corps, I still struggle with some of the habits that I started inside the Corps as a coping mechanism for what I was going through.
보다 많이 좋아진 것 같아요. 그래서 또 저희가 얼굴 보고 할 날이면 또 많이 좋아져 있지 않을까 그런 생각이 듭니다. 뭐 그랬어요. 그리고 뭐 재밌는 일 많았죠. 뭐 독사에 물려서 진짜 막 의무대 실려간 후임도 있었고 막.
What do you mean the dumpster donuts are real? Of course it was real. You think I'm just making shit up over here, Jen? Jeez. Of course they were real. You think story times are made up plays you think they're skits? Jennifer, I'm so disappointed. Also piddle chocolate, yeah. Yep.
외출했다가 갑자기 선인장을 먹어보고 싶다고 선인장을 먹은 거예요. 어떤 분위기가. 근데 선인장이 목에 걸려가지고 가시가. 근데 그게 너무 작아서 빼낼 수가 없어서 그 가시가 녹았는지 아닌지 모르겠는데 아무튼 거의 전역할 때까지 가시를 가지고 있던 뭐 동료도 있었고.
와우.
되게 별의별 일이 많았는데 어쨌든 끝이 나서 너무 좋습니다. 좋고 뭐 모든 고통에는 이제 다 이유가 있잖아요. 왜냐면 다 일어나는 일들에는 다 이유가 있으니까 제가 이런 것들을 겪고 있는데도 뭔가 이유가 있지 않을까 싶어서 제가 이제 군악 되니까 뭐 드럼도 배워보려고 하고 기타도 배워보려고 하는데 어려워요. 그래서 진짜 저는 악기 하시는 분들 진짜 너무 존경하고 리스펙을 많이 가지게 되는 것 같아요. 거기 이제 악기 하는 친구들이 되게 많았는데 되게 멋있다고 생각했고 뭐 색소폰 하나 배웠습니다 결국. 그리고 이제 창작을 해보려고 했었는데 가사든 멜로디든 근데 안 되더라고요. 그래서 제가 1년 반 동안 아무것도 못 썼어요. 일기밖에 못 썼어요.
That feels like depression. I know that seems like an obvious statement. Let me explain. He had the saxophone that we talked about. He uses the saxophone and learning the saxophone as a way to focus his brain on literally kind of laser focus on this, and it provides a distraction from everything else. But it is a very different thing for a creative and an introspective person like June to try and put his thoughts together into like lyrics and messages like that instead of just a ramble on a diary page. That's completely different, right? There's probably so much going on in there that it's one of two things, is my theories. It's either so much going on in there that he can't process down into a sensical song format, or he's depressed, and when he tries to write, there's just nothing there. There's no passion there. There's no happiness there. And it just goes. And it's easier to just pick up the saxophone and play these little practice strings of notes, and it just becomes muscle memory and nerve memory, right? It just kind of gets you into a flow state. You don't have to really think about it. It's just muscle memory, nerve memory, and you get kind of robotic. For someone like him, that creates a flow state that kind of settles the thoughts down. Yeah, autopilot.
심리적으로 되게 위기도 많았고 그래서 뭔가 쓰려고 해도 계속 부정적인 감정이나 그런 것들이 많이 염세적인 것들이 나오니까 좀 창작을 안 했던 것 같아요. 그래서 제가 14살 때 가사 쓰기 시작한 이후로 처음으로 가장 긴 기간 동안 또 창작을 전혀 해보지 않았는데 이 경험이 또 나중에는 이제 저희 앨범 해야 되잖아요. 제가 창작을 오랫동안 쉬었으니까 또 오히려 쉰 만큼 뭔가 좀 좋아지지 않았을까. 제가 그전 RPWP도 했고 이러니까 뭐 그런 생각, 예, 그런 생각 들고요. 뭐
It sounds like he's saying, I've done this before, I'll do it again. Like, yeah, I had my hiccups, I had trouble, but I've done it before countless times and I'll do it again. I will get my feet under me and I'll be fine. It's like he's kind of pep talking himself, is what it feels like.
뭐 늘 그렇듯이 뭐 전국이는 노래방 하면 저는 이제 혼자 떠드는 약간 맨날 그런 건데 좀 재미없으시죠. 근데 그냥 제가 그냥 혼자 브이로그 찍는다고 생각하고 떠들고 있어요. 사실 죄송해요. 그냥 이제 저도 좀 그동안에 있었던 것들 다 털어놓고 정리하고 다음 장으로 넘어가고 싶어서 집도 사실 그래서 그 군대 있을 때 휴가 나와서도 잠을 잘 못 자니까 집이 되게 불편해지더라고요. 제가 집을 되게 예쁘게 해놨잖아요. 근데 집도 이제 한번 아예 인테리어나 이런 걸 다 갈아엎으려고 해서 뭐 제가 가지고 있는 작품들도 다 수장고로 보내고.
Ooh, I don't know if I like this. I understand it. I don't know if I like it. My house is really uncomfortable because I couldn't sleep well when I was on leave from the military. So,
집을 되게 예쁘게 해놨잖아요. 근데
made my house really pretty, but now
집도 이제 한번 아예 인테리어나 이런 걸 다 갈아엎으려고.
I'm going to completely change the interior and everything. I'm going to send all my works to storage. I don't know if I like this. This feels like an impulsive. He doesn't seem like an impulsive guy. This almost seems like this state that he's in is starting to make decisions. You know? Yeah, and that's why I said, like, I understand it. He kind of wants a clean slate, but man, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, a reset. Like I said, I totally get it. And that really does just show you kind of the desperation of how he wants to kind of like wash away the last 2 years and focus on new, right? Oh, interesting.
해서 뭐 제가 가지고 있는 작품들도 다 수장고로 보내고 가구나 이런 것도 바꾸고 좀 전반적인 새 집처럼 만들려고. 집에 또 상처랑 역사들이 많아서 그런 것들을
Trying to fix the scars and history in my house.
해보려고 하고 있고, 제가 이제 몸이 좀 커져서, 그러니까 그 몸무게는 그래도 예전이랑 비슷하게 돌아왔는데 몸이 조금 커져서 예전에 입었던 옷들이 잘 안 맞아요. 이런 거는 최근에 산 것들이랑 맞는데, 그래서 옷장의 한 90% 이상을 이제 친구들 주거나 아니면은 뭐 이렇게 정리를 해서 옷장에 몇 개 없어요. 뭐 제가 하고 있는 보테가랑 뭐 몇 개 제가 좋아하던 브랜드들에 제가 좀 아끼는 친구들 빼고는 옷장의 90%를 다 정리하고, 책들도 지금 거의 다 정리하고 완전 다 갈아엎고 새로 시작하고 싶어가지고 좀 집을 좀 이제 좀.
This is also a matter of control, because in the military you don't have a lot of control, like at all, right? You have some control because you are a leader in some way, so you have to control things that you can. But when you're out of the military and you kind of get that release, you start to take control of things that you can control. And this is where binge eating comes in. Like, it's one of the few things you have control of is what you put into your mouth. So that's why those decisions matter. Once he gets out of the military, he's starting, okay, what can I control? What can I change? And he can actually have, like he said earlier, cause and effect, to where I feel bad, I want a new change. Oh, this is something that I can control. I'm going to get rid of everything in this house, start over. Oh, my closet, fix all that, get rid of that stuff, new, control. And it is a way for him to take control of his life again. But I agree with Leah that said, it, maybe take a little bit before any big decisions. Now, am I the marionette over June's life? No. I would tell him, hey, do you, bro? Just what I would tell my friend, if this is something they were going through, hold on, homie, hold on, just slow down a little bit. I get it. Let's talk about it before you go, and you spiral across your whole life, Good friends will give it to you straight, even if you don't want to hear it per se. You know?
어지럽고 부산스러운 것들을 싹 다 정리하고 다시 새롭게 시작을 하려고 합니다. 예,
But
그리고
also I'll say, you notice how he kind of bounces from topic to topic in a way? That's just stereotypical, quintessential over processing or processing through so much that he's trying to make sense of it. And I will say, I know he talked about being nervous going live again in the public eye, but like I called my initial stuff before BTS and YouTube, I called that lens therapy for a reason. This is absolutely Junie going through lens therapy. Even if there were no audience on the other side of this, and technically there isn't, because he's not even reading chat. He's just talking to the camera. This is perfect. You have to try and make sense of things as they're leaving. So it's a really, really good thing that he's doing this. And I hope that every one of them, once they're released, will do something like this. They can go live. Cookie will probably sing to us. That's great. Not going to complain. But if they have a moment and they feel the need to, is probably the best way to put it, they should do this. Even if they don't do it on camera, do it with each other. Take a vacation like we talked about, off camera, just the 7 of them, and just process through everything that happened for the last 2 years. Do your best to work it out. You're not going to solve all the world's problems, but you could try. You could start.
RPWP 앨범이 어쨌든 너무 그때 막 여러 가지 일들도 많고 그냥 그렇게 지나가서 제가 되게 1년 동안 열심히 이제 팀 RM이라는 친구들이랑 열심히 준비를 했는데 좀 아쉬운 부분이 있었는데요. 뭐 그 앨범에 대해서 되게 여러 가지 시선이 있을 수 있을 것 같아요. 사실 막 메이크업도 제대로 안 하고 막 머리 빡빡 민 다음에. 근데 솔직히 군대 들어가서 좀 많이 후회했어요. 그냥 내가 너무 빡빡이를 일찍 했다. 어차피 훈련소 들어가면 3mm로 그냥 싹 밀리는데
Yep.
나는 왜 내가 자진해서 저한테 제 친구들이 저한테 빡빡이를 해달라고 한 게 아니에요. 제가 민 거예요. 오히려 제가 밀고 나서 무슨 소리를 들었냐면 왜 밀었어? 우리 같이 상의해보자 하니까 라는 소리를 들었어요. 그래서 근데 그냥 전 그렇잖아요. 그냥 나 밀어야겠다. 그러면 그냥 밀어버리잖아요. 그래서 그때도 이제 7월 말 8월 초 여름인데 너무 더워서
Talking about shaving his head.
RPWP가 그리고 되게 솔직함에 관한 포장되지 않은 솔직함에 관한 앨범이니까 머리 밀어야겠다. 이거 고추장스럽 끼고 세팅하고 막 가르마 타고 이러면은 안 된다 해서 그냥 제가 밀고 나타난 거예요. 그때 제가 9mm인가로 밀었을 건데 그때도 마음고생을 많이 해서 뭐 언제는 안 했겠냐마는 제가 예민하니까 기질이 제가 뭐 인정했어요. 저는 제가 예민하다는 거. 제가 군대 가서 제일 많이 한 생각이 너 왜 이렇게 나약해? 너 이거밖에 안 돼? 너 훨씬 강한 훨씬 숱한 것들도 다 많이
So
겪었잖아.
it sounds like he's saying when he was getting to the point where it sounds like he's saying time was running out. Like he had to go in. So he pushed it by a day. And then he finally got to the point where he's struggling on this kind of precipice of decision to say, okay, stop being weak. You're stronger than this. You can do it. And having to build himself up to take that step because he knows that once he enters that world, there's no turning back for 2 years. That's what it sounds like. And having this kind of, generally it's a monologue that happens in our brain, but this feels more like a dialogue because he's literally saying, stop being weak. You're much stronger. You've been through so many things. But why am I feeling so sensitive, so weak? Yeah, it's a lot.
근데 왜 지금 이런 고통 뭐 예를 들면 잠이든 아니면 군대든 뭐 이런 거에 자꾸 질려 그래. 너 잘 살아야지 임마. 너 원래 낙천적 why not 이런 사람이잖아. 그래서 그 자기 세뇌를 많이 하려고 했는데 잘 안 돼요. 거기서는.
Yeah.
뭐 다시 돌아와야죠. 그래서 뭔 얘기하고 있었지? RPWP 맞아. 그래서 이게 제가 자진해서 민 거고 근데 군대 들어가서 후회 많이 했어요. 너무 오래 빡빡이를 보여드린다라는 생각에 아, 빨리 머리를 기르고 싶다. 나가서 좀 저도 좀 뭔가 좀 멋있는 척을 좀 하고 싶다. 머리 기르고 예전에 했던 것들이나 뭔가 그런 것들이 답습하지는 않더라도 뭔가 좀 이 규격에 맞는 것들을 좀 다시 좀 하고 싶다. 그런 생각을 놀랍게도 했답니다. 예. 그거 안 하려고 한 앨범이 RPWP였는데 뭐 정반합이라고 거기 가니까 또 이게 그립더라고요. 뭐 인디고 같은 거 아니면 뭐 아이돌 같은 거. 그래서 RPWP 제가 원래 늘 앨범을 내면 이제 리뷰를 했잖아요. 근데 RPWP는 뭐 들으셨겠지만 되게 불친절한 앨범이 맞고요. 그거에 대해서 제가 막 일일이 한 트랙 한 트랙 막 집어서 설명하기보다는 그냥 그 당시에 제가 겪었던 것들이 어땠나를 돌이켜보면
All right, so now he's talking about the album, RPWP. Right person, wrong place. No, right place, wrong person. I never get it right. Did he have to make a song with a similar yet different name? Bro, quit trolling us. Anyway, he's talking about the album. And he's going to compare it to Indigo and what. But we did a full deep dive on that album. I'm dying to know what he says about his experience through this, because I had my theory. I want to see what he says about it, because now I almost kind of have a new theory, which is my initial theory on the album was June kind of realized, maybe not realized, but his status as an idol gives him a freedom where he doesn't necessarily have to fit within specific boxes, right? So that album felt like him understanding that and being able to do kind of anything that he wanted. If it was going to be different, didn't matter. I can do that. I have that leverage. I have that equity now in the industry. I'm Namjoon. That's how I felt. That was my theory. Now I'm starting to wonder if that album and its kind of chaotic feel was more representative of him preparing emotionally for going into the military. Ooh, interesting. Let's see what he says.
그러니까 인디고는 되게 잘 예쁘게 포장된 어떤 그런 저의 20대였던 것 같고 주변 사람들의 말에 의하면 저도 그래, 실제로 나중에 그렇게 생각했는데 RPWP는 이제 제가 다 발가 벗길 원했어요. 왜냐면 뭐 근데 그게 되게 어떤 분들한테는 사실 이렇게까지는 알고 싶지 않았는데 뭐 혹은 이건 너무 폭력적이거나 너무 직설적이라서 약간 좀 왜 남의 좀 너무 민낯을 보면 좀 민망한 그런 게 있잖아요 우리가. 근데 어쨌든 제가 하고 싶었던 것은 그냥 이 모든 거추장스러운 것들을 최대한 허락하는 선에서 어디까지 내가 던질 수 있을까? 왜냐면 제가 음악을 시작한 게 어쨌든 힙합 음악이라는 거를 들으면서 시작을 했는데 힙합 음악이라는 게 사실 솔직함에 관한 음악이기도 하잖아요. 그래서 자기 가사를 쓰고 자기가 뱉고 이런 게. 그래서 다시 그 정신으로 돌아가 보려고 했던 것 같고 그리고 그렇게 솔직함으로써 제가 더 건강하게 다음 넥스트 BTS2를 할 수 있다고 생각을 했던 것 같아요. 왜냐면 이런 것들을 한번 쏟아내지 않으면은 제가 뭐 여러분들도 알다시피 저는 뭔가 이렇게 그냥 이렇게 좋은 게 잘 안 되고 어물쩡해서 그냥 뭐
So I don't know if he is rambling off into some other topic, but so far the thing I've captured is that with RPWP, it was about honesty. And that's kind of the core that he was going for, I think.
그냥 넘어가시죠. 뭐 좋은 게 좋은 거잖아요. 이런 게 잘 안 되고 굳이 들춰내고 굳이 파헤집고 이렇게 해야 좀 속이 풀려요. 그래서 그런 거에서 출발한 앨범이었어요. 많은 분들의 도움을 받았고.
Okay, here we go. A lot of help from a lot of people.
뭐 저도 여러 가지 피드백도 받고 가끔 읽어보기도 했는데 제가 정말 제 개인에 대한 얘기예요.
Okay.
네, 뭐 그 가사들에 대해서 어떻게 생각하시는지 모르겠지만 네 정말 뭐 배신에 관한 이야기, 뭐 사랑에 관한 이야기, 뭐 친구에 관한 이야기, 그다음에 뭐 제가 처한 이 업계에 대한 이야기, 제가 그동안 살아온 것에 대한 저의 어떤 태도에 대한 이야기 그런 거였고 저는 그 앨범이 되게 저한테 되게 의미 있는 앨범이라고 생각해요. 그리고 지금 1년이 넘게 지나고 나서 그 앨범을 들었을 때 마지막 그 두 트랙, 그러니까 유유를 빼고 컴백 투 미랑 어라운드 월드 이너 데이라는 두 트랙이
음.
되게 오래 여운이 남고 제가 만들고 싶었던 어떤 희노애락을 다 담은 그 안에 그런 음악이라고 감히 생각을 하고요. 뭐 다음에 제가 어떤 걸 할지는 모르겠지만 이게 정반합으로 갈지 아니면 또 다른 새로운 모험을 떠날지 잘은 모르겠지만 제가 진짜 어쨌든 세상에 필요하고 그리고 나한테도 필요한 음악 그런 거를 만들려고 할 거예요. 저는 제가 막 단순히 나는 똥
There's the key right there. Now, we talked about this in the letter. We saw that one line that talked about love and how he wants to love and he wants to be love and what that looks like. Now, my interpretation of that paragraph in the letter talked about these 4 lines are what he's actually saying. But because he's an idol in the public eye, he has to throw on these last 2 so that everybody doesn't flip a frigging gasket at the thought that he can love somebody and be loved by somebody, right? So here, I'm going to make music. They're talking about what's coming up. I'm going to make music that the world needs and that I need. I'm going to tell you right now, I think he means it when he says music that the world needs. Yes. But I think music that I need is where that focus needs to be. Because this whole brain spin of a live stream, that energy and thought and processing has to go somewhere. So when he, as he says, stabilizes, when he normalizes and his life settles down and he starts to pick up that pencil and starts to write outside of the diary, but write a couple lyrics, maybe write the title of a song. He's starting to hit those wave tops we talked about. I think that album is going to be literally what he needs to make sense and help resolve his journey through the military. Now, I don't know if that's going to take the form of what a lot of you might expect. If I had to guess, I think it's going to have to do with some love, but that feels kind of obvious. I think we might see a couple songs that reference some very, very simple things. Simple life. And I don't mean like a humble life, but a quiet life. A life outside the public eye. A life that's kind of shy of expectations and weight and pressure. That's the kind of stuff I think is going to come out of it. That he feels that freedom from the weight of the military life. And he's trying to resolve that. He's trying to show that he has a different perspective than he had before. You know, it's like you can go right now. A lot of you are probably sitting on your couch right now, and you're like, okay, well, this is comfortable. It's nice. I'm good. Go for a 20-mile walk, and then come home and sit on that couch. That couch is going to be the greatest thing you have ever known in your entire life. That is a different perspective. This post-military Junie has a different perspective. That's what I think we're going to see.
똥을 싸지를 거야. 나는 내 똥 봐줘. 이런 게 아니라 전 뭔가 그 시작이 똥일지언정 욕일지언정 뭔가 그거를 보편화해서 혹은 개인화할지라도 좀 아름답게 만들 수 있는 노력들을 앞으로 할 거고요.
Huh. That last couple of bits actually felt like he was talking about pressure. Like almost like he was saying, when I start writing, I want to give less shits about what everybody has to say. I want to get away from the pressure and I just want to say stuff. I'll try to make it beautiful instead of just talking about shit all the time. But that's what I think. That's what that felt like to me.
조금 믿어주셨으면 좋겠다. 좀 뭐 이쁘게 봐주셨으면 좋겠다. 네, 그런 생각 많이 했습니다. 부끄럽지만. 아무튼
It's
끝났어요.
over.
와, 진짜 끝났고 이 라이브를 켜는 생각 진짜 정말 많이 했고 진짜 여러분이 너무 보고 싶었고 정말 다시 돌아오고 싶었어요.
Wow. So when he was talking earlier about turning on this live, it wasn't like today he was thinking about this live and what he was going to say. He's been thinking about the first live that he would do after he got out, because that would mean it's a defining moment, a landmark that means he is officially out. I didn't realize that. Wow. So when he says he's thinking about this, he has been thinking about this moment for a long time. Wow. I did not understand that.
저희가 마지막 공연이 예투컴 2022년 10월이에요. 벌써 3년 됐어요, 거의. 그러니까 이제 무대를 다시 선다는 게 진짜 두려워요. 솔직히 거기서
Yep.
제일 많이 했던 생각이 뭐 가끔 안무도 해보고 막 휴가 나와서 연습해보고 했는데 제일 많이 하는 생각이 다시 무대에 설 수 있을까? 사람들이 진짜
Expectations. Will people really expect this? Boom, nailed it, Smug.
이거를 기대할까? 필요로 할까? 그 전에 사람들이 나를 혹은 우리를 필요로 한다라고 하는 개념 이전에 내가 다시 할 수 있나 이걸? 그 두려움이 엄청나요. 그래서 그 형들이 혹은 여기 선배들이 군대 갈 때 그 얘기를 제일 많이 했던 것 같아요. 가면 이제 그 우리가 아는 그 무슨 밥 병에 걸린다. 무슨 밥 병이 뭐냐? 그러니까 너가 거기 가면 그 명령에 따르고 그 위계에 따르고 거기에 그 중력과 시간과 그 계급 사회 속에 살면서 너가 너 스스로 너가 어떤 사람인지 잊어버리고, 왜냐면 자아를 빼라는 말을 되게 많이 들었거든요. 너가 누군지 잊어버려. 사회에서 너가 누구인지 잊어버려야 돼 너는. 근데 쉽지 않죠. 저는
That makes perfect sense. So he's essentially saying that superiors and seniors and leaders will tell you need to forget who you are. Now he's saying forget your ego. I don't think that's, and generally Americans would understand that as, hey bro, you got an attitude problem. Lose the ego. I don't think that's what he's saying. I think he's saying, in a military sense, you are not an individual. You are a body. You are a soldier. You are essentially a human robot that is told to do something, and you do it without asking questions. That is the military machine. So when they say forget who you are, that's what they mean. Yeah. And it's, I mean, God, we could talk all day on whether or not that's a bad thing, but it's like, it's not exclusive. It's kind of a bad thing for the person at the time, but in the scheme of things, it's kind of necessary sometimes. You almost have like a switch that you can turn on and off based on what the situation requires. And that's just kind of the dark reality to it.
그래도 제가 어쨌든 저 BTS인데 나이가 30이고 저를 없앤다는 게 정말 쉽지 않더라고요. 그래서 너가 누군지 잊어버려야 된다. 이 말을 진짜 많이 들었고 잊어버리려고 부단히 애썼고 잊어버렸었던 때도 있었던 것 같아요. 근데 이제 병장 달고 나서는 다시 찾으려고 노력을 많이 했지만 뭐 어쨌든 죄송해요. 또 행설수를 하고 있네. 또 꼭꼭목 찍고 있네. 또 혼자서. 네, 아무튼
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Talking about simple things. He's like, I'm sorry, I'm talking nonsense again. I'm taking pictures of flowers. That's boring. Yeah, that's what he wants is boring. It's perfect.
그
Simple.
씨 진짜 못 이겼지. 에헤이 참나 변한 게 없어. 이런 거 보면 사람 참 안 변해요. 네, 아무튼 그 제가 되게 무대를 다시 서고 창작이라는 걸 다시 한다는 게, 왜냐면 창작이 그렇잖아요, 여러분. 창작이 그 전에 제가 되게 어떻게 보면 태도 윤리적으로 되게 너무 막 했다라는 생각도 드는 게, 이 공기 중에 흩어진 혹은 내 머릿속에 있는 여태까지 내가 보고 내가 씹어 삼킨 내가 언어화한 것들을 공중에서 잡아채가지고 그거를 확정을 짓는 거잖아요. 이 멜로디를 나는 여기에다 확정을 넣을 거야. 이 가사를 내가 지금 가장 표현하고 싶은 거라고 난 여기 기록할 거야. 근데 그 기록으로 남겨지고 그게 뭔가 확정이 된다라는 게 되게 다시 무서워졌어요. 너무 오랫동안 활동을 안 해서. 그래서 이제 주변에 많은 분들이 거기 있었던 그 선후임 동기들도 그렇고 제가 누군지 상기시켜 주려고 되게 많이 노력을 했는데, 제가 사실 지금 되게 막 물론 막 너무 다시 하고 싶지만 사실 약간 좀 쫄아 있어요. 예. 그래서 막 호비 혼자 투어하고 이제 진영도 하지만은 이제 멋있고 부럽고 저도 곡이 많으니까 언젠가 뭘 좀 더 내든 하든 언젠가 저도 제 공연을 만들고 싶은데 나는 어떤 방식이어야 할까 이런 생각도 많이 해보는 것 같고 뭐 그렇습니다. 전 뭐 늘 저예요. 그냥 뭐 그렇게 힘들어 했지만은 그 안에서도 어쨌든 잘 버티고 또 여기 여러분께 건강한 모습으로 서 있지 않습니까? 오히려
Want to highlight that.
뭐
It was hard, but somehow I held on,
그렇게
and I'm
힘들어
here,
했지만은 그
all in
안에서도
good health.
어쨌든 잘 버티고 또 여기 여러분께 건강한 모습으로 서 있지 않습니까? 오히려 제 주변 사람들은 갔다 와서 제가 이제 혈색이 좋아졌대요. 얼굴이 좋아졌대요. 그래서 뭔 헛소리냐 그런 생각을 많이 했는데 나 지금 막 어제도 막 한 시간밖에 못 자서 아니야 너 지금 되게 좋은데 너 얼굴이 또 마음의 창이지 않습니까? 그래서 또 저는 또 어떻게든 이제 길을 찾아내고 여러분들께 또 좋은 모습
I
보여드릴
will
거라는 걸
find
저는 이미
my
알고
way.
있어요. 그리고 또 오늘도 연락이 진짜 많이 와서 진짜 너무 많은 분들이 축하를 해주셔서 너무 감사하더라고요. 이게 제가 색소폰 불어서 어그로 끄니까 역시 뉴스에 막 나오고 막 그런 게 웃기니까 이제 문자도 한 번씩 해주시고 전화도 한 번씩 해주시고 그래서 네, 그리고 아버지랑 정말 많이 친했어요. 네, 군대 가서 제일 좋은 게 아버지랑 너무
I got
친해졌어요.
close with his
아버지가
dad.
하셨던 군대가 훨씬 힘들었을 텐데 그때 얘기 듣고 하면서 반성도 많이 하고 난 되게 행복한 거다 그런 생각도 많이 하고 그랬던 것 같아요.
See, and that kind of goes back to the connection that we talked about, the ways that we connect through that type of experience. His dad was in the military long ago, and now he's been through the military, so that's another way that they can bond with each other and tell stories, and they compare stories. And Junie can say, "Well, I went to this place, and this is what it was like," and his dad's like, "Well, back in my day." Yeah, it's good. It's a good thing.
아무튼 내일 이제 2시간 뒤에 이제 지민이랑 정국이도 돌아오니까 휴가 때 지민이랑 정국이랑은 사실 한 번씩 따로 만나서 한잔 하면서 얘기했었거든요. 지민이 집에서 한 번 했었고 그다음에 정국이랑은 제가 좋아하는 장소 데려가서 정국이랑 인생 처음으로 정국이랑 둘이 술 먹었습니다. 예.
Nice.
왜냐면
For the first time?
제가 사실 술을 안 먹었어요. 전혀. 맥주 한 잔? 근데 이제 23년에 준이 형 군대 가고 나서부터 술을 먹기 시작한 거거든요. 여러 가지 사정들로 인해서. 그래서 제가 정국이가 옛날에 가끔씩 먹었을 때는 제가 술을 안 먹었으니까 이제 우리가 15살, 18살 때 처음 만나가지고
Wow.
이제 29, 32이 돼서 밖에서 이제
That's
한잔 하는데
crazy.
너무 좋더라고요, 기분이. 네, 너무 좋고 서로 너무 좋은 얘기하고 뭐 지민이도 마찬가지고 제가 보기엔 다 너무 멋있고 그 친구들한테 배울 게 너무 많으니까 제가 빚진 것도 너무 많고 그래서 참 저희 팀이 이상한 팀인 것 같아요. 그래서
Weird?
저희 팀만 가진 특별함이 저는 아직 끝나지 않았다고 믿거든요. 그래서 이제 돌아와가지고 태형이 몸 보세요. 장난 아니에요 진짜. 그래서 저희 돌아와가지고 진짜
Interesting.
좀 또 그 전이랑은 다른 거 예, 넘어가야죠. 저희도 변화해야 되니까 멋있는 거 해가지고 들고 올 테니까 시간이 얼마나 걸릴지 모르겠지만 뭐 저희끼리 얘기 가끔씩 하고 뭐 어떤 거 하면 좋을까 어떤 생각해 무슨 생각해 그러면서 계속 얘기하고 있었거든요.
I just realized this. I hope I'm wrong, but going back to the expectations we talked about, think about before the military. Junie's the president, he's a leader. I don't know if that was ever really like a question or it was just the way that it was. And Junie's the leader, and here we go, we're BTS, and here's all 7 of us. That's just the way it was. But now after the military, the 7 of them complete their service in different units with different jobs. And Junie's talked about how he had a really hard time and he struggled, and like Tay seemed to do well, and he was in like a tactical unit, did really well. It makes me wonder, I'll bet a lot of this expectation that he's experiencing, a lot of this fear and struggle is also going to be wrapped around the fact that now the dynamic could be a little different because of these variables that he's talked about. You know, is he struggling with feeling like a leader after everybody's gone through their own journeys, you know? And he knows he struggled. He's throwing it out there to the world. So I feel like he's trying to resolve that. Man, that's tricky.
그래서 많이 기대해 주셨으면 좋겠고, 기다리신 만큼 꼭 좋은 걸로 제가 꼭 보답할게요. 저를 믿어주셨으면 좋겠어요. 그리고 소통을 너무 안 했으니까 너무 불통이니까 이게 소통을 좀 해볼까, 한 5분 정도 하다 갈까 하는데. Okay guys, thank you for listening my whole lecture for 15 minutes.
15 minutes, bro.
And I missed you like desperately. And now I'm ready to be back. And tomorrow, JKJM's gonna.
Does time go slower in Korea?
Discharge, so we're all ready. We are strong. I know we are all strong. You guys and us, we both strong, and we both made each other. We both brought each other to, somewhere else. Like no one else ever been.
Oh, so he's reading chat now.
I'll never take that for granted. And hope you guys stay healthy, as usual, happy. I'm so just so happy and honored to have a live again, in
this is that moment.
It's been 18 months, so
yep.
Thank you for patiently waiting once again. Okay.
Okay.
待ってくれてありがとうございます。本当に。ありがとうございます。
Roscoe.
I damn miss your armies. I was in the army, but I couldn't see you in the army. You know what I mean? I was in the army, but there was no army. So,
bro, be glad. Be glad you could do your military time without a bunch of lunatics running around you all the time, trying to snap pictures and take your shoes off you and smell you.
Like now you see like why I was like I felt so hard there. Now I'm ready to go again. I love you. I love you so much. How do you? Okay, tomorrow is another big day, so I'm gonna turn this off. And I just can't wait to be back. Like every of us, one more time. Alright, guys. Like stay tuned and please hang in there for our next album. It's gonna be huge. It's gonna be different.
It's gonna be different.
Bye, I love you. Kiss XOXO 3,000, 5,000.
Wrap it up, Judy.
Bye.
How do I end this live?
어떻게 끄더라?
See?
어떻게 끄지? 종교. Bye.
Isn't that great? Oh man. Wow. That was some.
주셨으면 좋겠고 기다리.
I don't know if I could say, did you enjoy that? Because it's not like it's a fun whiz bang kind of experience, but I did enjoy that from the perspective of hearing his own words on what his experience was like, because more and more these days I feel like that's important. If you kind of pay attention to what I think most rational, normal people these days are seeking, it's honesty, it's authenticity. So having something like this where June gets on the camera without a friggin' script in his own home and he says, this is what I went through. And he just, I think most of us are after that because we're tired of all of these different mechanisms and entities that are just shoving every manipulative piece of nonsense our way for whatever gain, whether that's monetary, political, ideological, whatever it is. So things like this are a breath of fresh air. Hearing somebody's experience. And I do have to say, I think it's so friggin' strange, although I'm grateful, it's so strange that in, January 21st or January 16th in 2022, this cat popped on my screen. I was immediately drawn to him. And here I am 3.5 years later, and I'm speaking as if I know this cat. I'm not saying that's the right answer, but I do feel like they have given us enough content out and about, and even like I'm talking Bon Voyage and the live streams where it's just kind of them and all those little kind of private moments, right? Where you feel like you listen to them talk enough, you understand their struggles, you understand how their brain works, that you can kind of infer certain things. It's crazy to think that in this many years, this is kind of how far we've come. Yeah, we do. We feel like we know them. Right. Oh, you're going to remind me, huh? Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate it, Tracy. Your perspective was really interesting. Well, I hope I contributed something to the conversation. It was honestly, it was kind of hard because he's taking everything and just throwing it on the table. He's going past tense, future tense, yesterday, and military, before the military, his album, chaos. I'm glad he's doing it. It was just kind of tricky to do, but I hope I provided something. So here's what I'd like to do. I'm gonna go grab my diary, if you will. Okay. Don't know how this is gonna go, so let's start with this. Going by. So Junie talking about how he was kind of putting everything into his diary and trying to like make sense of stuff, and that was one of his distractions. It really does work well. Now, granted, I always called mine a journal. That felt safer for me. So I have my journal from the military. Oh, we're just getting started. This, oh man. It's such a military thing that not only do I put my name in it, I write my social security number under my name. Your social security number becomes your military number. They don't, a lot of times you're not even answering your name. You're answering your number. Okay. Great. Very safe. Date started January 4th, 1999. Now I'm not going to read this damn thing to you, but there's a couple things I will share. My first day at Security Forces, 1999, January 4th. 1999, a brand new year, a new slate to almost start over, make a new impression. I will be here, hopefully, only until March 9th, and then I will go on to any of the following places: London, Iceland, Saudi Arabia, Georgia, Italy, Washington State, or Virginia. 9:13 at night. I'm in a squad bay, the barracks we talked about, and so on. So as I go through this thing, I write about a lot of memories. People that I ran into when I was home on leave and vacation. I had like a a 10-day leave to go back home when I finished with a certain school, and then I went to the next school. So a lot of these pages are talking about people I ran into, whatever. But here's what I wanted to share with you. Let's see here. Ooh, what? Wow. Okay. Sorry, I'm just having a moment. Wow. Okay. This is not actually what I wanted to share with you, because this is where I started. I went through boot camp. I went through infantry school, and then machine gunner school, and then security forces school, and then I was stationed at my first duty station. This was the diary I started on my first day of security forces training, which was about 3 months, and then I went on to my duty station. But this is what started it. Then, as I started traveling the world, this became my journal. This is a lot, okay? This is 4 years of my journal. So when Junie showed you his, and he was like, "Oh, these are my notes." Bro, nope. I told you we were similar, okay? Now, this first thing I'm going to share with you, when I was going through actually, I'm going to save that for a second. This is what I was thinking about when I said, I want you to remind me of my diary, okay? So bear with me here. I got to make sure it's sanitized for camera view's sake. Okay. All right. I have not looked at this in actually probably more than 20 years, I think. Okay. So if anything, I'll do my best to try to translate, and I'll give you some context as well. This was a letter that I wrote. I'd gone through boot camp. You got to remember, I was 17 years old when I went in the military. I went into the Marine Corps. I went through boot camp. I went through the schools that I mentioned. I went to my first duty station, and then I was at my first duty station for about 3 months. And then I wrote this letter, okay? And I'm just going to try to, as I go, I'll try to make sense of it. But this was the letter that I emailed, because email was like a new thing. I can't believe I just said that, but it's true. Email was like a new thing. So I wrote this letter, and I sent it to every single person on my contact list. Family, new friends, people I went to school with. It was just, that's what it was. May 5th, 1999. To all of whom I send this message, my name is Ross, and you all know me as one thing or another: a son, a friend, a brother, a teacher. And as you all know, I am presently in the United States Marine Corps. I'm coming upon completing my first year in the Corps in the infantry as a machine gunner / Marine security guard. And before I joined the Corps, I wanted so badly to go to a Bible Institute to become capable of ministry and receiving credentials to become a pastor. But I felt that perhaps God wanted me somewhere else. Joining the Marine Corps at first, it seemed like I jumped the gun and was a rash decision. But after a week of confusion, I saw what the whole thing was about, so I had to trust in God's will. I could see that I was being put in a place where Christians were rare, if not almost extinct. Now, of course, this is 18-year-old me. God has blessed me so much in my life here in the Corps, and it has been my proof that He wants me here to be a light to my fellow Marines. God put me in one of the highest places in the Corps and with some of the hardest grunts He could have. I'm in the infantry, frontline in combat in the Fleet Anti-Terrorism Security Team, a rapid and constantly deploying unit that is placed in areas around the world within 48 hours. So as you can see, I have been able to witness some of the sharpest and roughest troops in the United States arsenal. But lately, it seems that I am becoming one. Being in the Marine Corps has taught me to complete any goal given to me. In my 1 year here, I have failed at nothing. Not one thing that I have been tasked with I have failed with because God has been with me. But lately, being faced difficulty after endless difficulty, it seems I have been falling from His grace. The people around me, the constant pain and hardship, financial problems that never seem to end, and so many temptations that keep kicking me down. I face 1,000 more each day than I have in all 18 years of my life. It has been killing me for almost 2 months now. To be honest, almost my entire relationship with God is gone. Every hour of every day for almost 2 months seems to be a vision of hell and what it is like. It seems like it will never end, and I am at the end of my rope. I have been hanging on with every ounce of strength that I could muster, but now I am lost at a dead end. It almost seems that there is no way to go but up, I hope. As many of you already know, before I received God in my heart on February 9th, 1996, I faced an 8-month depression. In that time span, I wanted to, thought, and attempted bad things more than once. Those were the darkest and most painful days that I have ever faced, and I told myself that I would never go back there. But as I sit here and I write to all of you, I can honestly say that I never felt myself sliding downward. I never saw things getting darker. It just came out and broke my heart one night, and I saw what had happened to me. I saw a place that I never wanted to see, and I felt feelings that I never wanted to feel. And for the first time since that last youth retreat with my church, I cried because something had overcome me. But back then, it was something different. And lately, it's certainly not what it was. I don't want to be here. I don't want to live like this. I cannot live like this. But I thank God that He has kept enough love in me to see what is happening to me. And I realize what is taking place. And how much I need to get back on the straight and narrow. Because I have not failed one thing yet, and I intend to keep it that way. I cannot let you all down. I've been put here for a reason, and I shall certainly not turn my eyes to everything that I have known for so long. Everything that has meant so much to me. I cannot, I will not. I write this to all of you to ask for prayer, for help, for a thought, anything. I'm so low out here, but I have to constantly forget that only because it'll get me killed at one time or another. And I cannot be dwelling on such things as these now. So much is happening in the world, and I need to be there protecting and defending, not having to worry about my own selfish life. I want to be able to do my job with faith and not with spiritual pain and hardship that has been tearing at me for what seems like forever. Please pray for me. Think of me. Just please help. I need to turn my eyes away from all of this. I cannot fight this or fight like this any longer. I have no more strength. As soon as I sent that email, I got back to the room and my phone was already ringing. I walked back from the internet cafe, I know, and I got back to the room and the phone was already ringing. And it was my mom. She got the email, she read it, and she was sobbing. It was nighttime when I had sent it, and I remember very vividly laying on my bed and apologizing to her that I had sent the letter. And she just cried and cried and cried. And then I started crying. And I felt awful for making her feel like that. Of course, she's worried about me, rightfully so. I'm worried about me too, but now I'm also worried about her. So this night was pretty rough. Spoiler alert, I made it through. I know you don't like spoilers, but I had to give you that one because I feel you getting upset. The reason I share that with you is because, as I said, I think our journeys, me and June, were very similar. You know me well enough to know I'm a sensitive guy. I'm an emotional guy. I try to do the best that I can to make sense out of things. I'm an introspective guy. I like to think. Junie is very similar in a lot of those ways. So when you watch something like this and you hear him processing, and you might see this very similarly from some of the other guys. I don't know yet. I don't know what's been out, what's coming. Who knows? But you watch these guys and you listen to them process and you worry about them. Are they going to be okay? Is this going to affect them in the long haul? Is this going to change something in them? The truth is, we don't know. But at the very least, if I can give you some semblance of peace, some solace to know that if I was strong enough to get through that, and I just read you the exact words on that message from 20,000 years ago, they're going to be just fine. Difficult times happen, and then they go away. Sometimes they come back. Sometimes different ones come up. That is life. Life can really, really suck sometimes. But sometimes it can also be great. That is the reality of being a human. I warned you that it would be a buzzkill, but I actually didn't remember it being that dark. But that is the reality. That is truth. That is something that I went through, and I say went through very specifically. And even though things have changed in me as far as what my faith looks like and how I approach life and my philosophies and my values, I still would like to think that I'm the same 18-year-old kid that sat there and cried and wrote that and struggled to where I'm still here, still making bad decisions. You know what I mean? I'm still just, hey, do it for the story and let's see where it goes. Yeah. And honestly, I'll tell you, I'm going to be really, really frank with you. Which I always am, but sometimes I say that to get you to like perk up for a second and be like, oh, he's going to say something important. Duh, it's me. I have like a 0.01% understanding of what these cats go through. Because in a way, yeah, I'm kind of in the public eye. But it's like 0.0001. Totally, right? But one thing I've learned is that my goal here, and we've talked about this so many times, my goal here when we do this, sometimes, a lot of times, is about shared experiences. Yeah, we use videos like this and we use music videos. We find commonalities that kind of tie us together, and that's great. Or we have like, I have an opinion about this and you have a different opinion about this. And they have a different opinion. I love that. That's kind of the beauty of the gray that is all of us. So when I read you something like this letter that is incredibly vulnerable, I do it as a way to share my experience. Because some of you have similar experiences, or you might at some point have a similar experience. And maybe there's a chance that you'll have a reference point now to understand he got through it. I could do it. I do it every day. And then at some point, it'll be up to you to pay it forward to someone else, to share your experience with somebody else so they understand. If we live in these little bubbles and we never interact, life sucks even more. But if we understand each other and we share with one another, I think it makes more sense of everything. And when I say I'm going to be frank with you, here's what I mean by that. Here is kind of the dark reality of what the 0.001% looks like being in the public eye. You do something like I have done reading this letter. You do something like June has done by sharing his experience and admitting to the public that he struggled in the military. That's vulnerability. And while his goal of doing that is X, Y, or Z, and my goal in sharing this very vulnerable letter with you is to share our experiences, there's always going to be people that will use it against you. They will twist things, and they will justify things weirdly, and they will try to hurt what you are doing. And that sucks. But something that is important, and I think is important for all of us as we go back to the point of seeking authenticity, is that when you see things like this, and it's somebody putting themselves out there, just listen. Just listen. It's a big moment. It's a big moment for somebody to open up like that. And you can encourage and you can, support. And of course, like all that's great. And I say that because, like, for instance, he cursed a couple times in this, right? But there will be people that will eat him alive because he cursed, because he's not being a perfect idol. He's not being the best. Come, give me a break. Come on. Those people exist. So what? His experience is different from my experience, different from your experience. And even if you're not in the public eye, you can still face the brunt of other people trying to tell you how to live and how to be perfect while they watch from their soapboxes. My advice? Fuck them. Nobody cares. I'm going to do me. I'm going to live to the best of my ability and try to make a good impact on the world. I may not always get it right, but I'm damn well trying.